Some stories begin in the most unexpected places, like Louisville, Kentucky in the year 1942. The city was a crossroads of old traditions and new hopes, a place where the echoes of the past mingled with the dreams of the future. Into this world, Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. was born. His father, a sign painter with a sharp wit and a stubborn pride, and his mother, a woman of quiet strength and deep faith, raised him in a household that was both loving and resilient. Their home on Grand Avenue was always full of life, laughter, music, and the constant hum of family. But outside their door, the city's harsh segregation was impossible to ignore. The lines between black and white were drawn everywhere, shaping every moment. For a black child growing up in the 40s and 50s, every day was a lesson in what you couldn't do, where you couldn't go, and who you weren't supposed to be. The world seemed determined to keep dreams small. But Cassius was different. He was loud, energetic, and bursting with a confidence that seemed to defy the world's expectations. He was always in motion, always talking, always dreaming out loud. Alongside his younger brother Rudy, Cassius navigated the tough streets of Louisville. The two boys stuck together, facing challenges and finding adventure wherever they could. But even then, Cassius had a spark, a restless energy that set him apart from everyone else. Even as a boy, he'd boldly declare that he was going to be famous one day. And when he said it, people listened. There was something about the way he carried himself, a sense of destiny that made you almost believe him. He watched his father paint signs for businesses he wasn't allowed to enter, felt the sting of being turned away simply because of the color of his skin. These moments left a mark, fueling a fire inside him. But where others saw only barriers, Cassius saw a challenge, a reason to push harder, to prove everyone wrong. School never held his attention for long. His mind was always racing, dreaming up bigger things than what the classroom could offer. He was restless, always searching for something more. He loved to play pranks and make people laugh. But beneath the jokes was a sensitive soul, quietly absorbing the world's unfairness and injustice. This kid from Louisville was never just another face in the crowd. He stood out, even when he tried to blend in. There was a determination in his eyes, a sense that he was meant for something greater. Deep down, he was waiting for something that could channel all his energy, his frustration, and his hope into a single purpose. And soon, that purpose would find him. The world was about to meet Cassius Clay, not just as a boy from Louisville, but as someone who would change history. Every great journey has a spark. For 12-year-old Cassius, it was a stolen red and white Schwinn. Furious, he stormed into the Columbia Auditorium's basement, where Officer Joe Martin ran a boxing gym. Cassius vowed to whoop the thief, but Martin asked, "Do you know how to fight?" When Cassius admitted he didn't, Martin invited him to learn. That was the moment everything changed. The gym became his new world. Discipline, sweat, and controlled aggression. Cassius was a natural, his energy finally finding a home in the ring. He moved with a dancer's grace, fast on his feet and with his fists. Day after day, he soaked up every lesson. Boxing wasn't just about hitting. It was strategy, willpower, and self-mastery. He poured all his frustration into the heavy bag. Inside the ropes, he was free to define himself. The bike was never found, but Cassius found something better, his destiny. The journey had begun. Cassius Clay tore through the amateur ranks, dazzling with his speed, style, and bravado. Even as a teenager, he moved with a confidence and flair that set him apart from his peers. His footwork was electric, his punches sharp, and his personality already larger than life. Coaches and fans alike could see that this young man was destined for greatness. In 1960, he faced his fear of flying to compete in the Rome Olympics, and won gold. The world watched as he danced around his opponents, outclassing them with both skill and showmanship. That gold medal wasn't just a victory for Clay. It was a symbol of hope and pride for his hometown and for Black America. He returned home a champion, but segregation still ruled Louisville. Despite his Olympic triumph, he was still treated as a second-class citizen in his own city. The cheers of the crowd faded quickly in the face of harsh reality. Legend says he threw his medal in the river after being refused service at a diner. Disillusioned, he turned pro, determined to fight not just for himself, but for respect and dignity. The pain of injustice fueled his ambition, pushing him to prove his worth in the professional arena. The fights were longer, the opponents tougher, but his style, brash, beautiful, and unpredictable, remained. He brought a new energy to the ring, taunting his rivals and thrilling the crowds with every bout. Each match was a spectacle, a test of both skill and willpower. He talked, he boasted, he predicted rounds. His words were as sharp as his jabs, and he used them to get inside his opponent's heads before the first bell even rang. He wasn't just fighting for money. He was building a platform, a voice no one could ignore. Every interview, every public appearance, he made sure the world was listening. The world was about to meet the Louisville Lip. His quick wit and fearless attitude made headlines, and people everywhere started to take notice. He signed his first pro contract in 1960 and began climbing the ranks. Each victory brought him closer to the spotlight, and his ambition only grew stronger. His charisma made him a star outside the ring too. Fans flocked to him, drawn by his charm and infectious energy. He mingled with celebrities, appeared on television, and became a household name. He was more than a boxer. He was a performer, a force of nature. Whether shadowboxing on stage or entertaining a crowd, he knew how to captivate an audience. Every fight, every interview, he made sure people remembered his name. He wanted the world to know that Cassius Clay was here to stay. The stage was set for something bigger. The world of boxing and the world itself was about to change forever. Cassius Clay was ready to shake up the world. His journey was just beginning, and he was determined to leave an unforgettable mark on history. The road to the heavyweight title was brutal, but Cassius Clay made it must-see TV. He taunted, recited poetry, and called out Sonny Liston, the fearsome champion. Almost no one gave Clay a chance. At the weigh-in, he put on a wild show, psychological warfare at its finest. On fight night, February 25, 1964, Clay was too fast, too elusive. Liston swung at air as Clay danced and jabbed. Even a scare with something in his eyes couldn't stop him. After 6 rounds, Liston quit on his stool. Clay leaped onto the ropes, shouting, "I shook up the world! I'm the king of the world!" It was more than a victory. It was a cultural earthquake. He'd backed up every word, seizing the heavyweight crown on his own terms. The era of Cassius Clay had begun. The world had no idea how much more he'd shake it. He wasn't just a champion, he was a revolution. The old rules no longer applied, and he was just getting started. The morning after his victory, Clay made an even bigger announcement. He was joining the Nation of Islam. He renounced his slave name and became Muhammad Ali. The press was outraged, refusing to call him by his new name. But for Ali, it was a declaration of independence. His faith, inspired by Malcolm X, gave him a new mission, fighting for his people and his beliefs. He turned every press conference into a platform for black pride and self-determination. To some, he was a hero. To others, a traitor. But Ali never wavered. Being champion meant standing for something bigger than boxing. Muhammad Ali was now a symbol, and the world would never see him the same way again. At the very height of his fame and athletic prowess, Muhammad Ali faced a challenge unlike any he had encountered in the ring, the Vietnam War draft. The world watched as the heavyweight champion, known for his lightning-fast fists and even quicker wit, was called to serve in a conflict that divided a nation. Ali refused induction into the armed forces, standing firm on his religious beliefs and personal conscience. He famously declared, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong," a statement that echoed across the country and around the world, challenging the status quo and sparking heated debate. The backlash was immediate and severe. Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title, banned from boxing at the peak of his career, and convicted of draft evasion. The punishment was not just professional, it was deeply personal, as he became a lightning rod for controversy and criticism. For more than 3 years, Ali was forced into exile from the sport he loved, losing what many considered the prime years of his athletic life. The ring was empty, but his spirit remained unbroken, and he continued to train in solitude, holding on to hope. During this time, Ali found a new platform. He traveled the country speaking at colleges and universities, connecting with young people who were themselves questioning the war and the authority that demanded it. His words inspired a generation to think critically about justice, peace, and personal conviction. As the anti-war movement grew, public opinion began to shift. Ali, once vilified, became a powerful symbol of principle and resistance, his courage resonating with those who sought change. The cost was immense. Ali lost millions of dollars in potential earnings and sacrificed the best years of his career. He faced financial hardship and public scorn, but he never wavered in his resolve or his beliefs. His legal battle reached the highest court in the land. In 1971, the Supreme Court unanimously overturned his conviction, vindicating his stand and restoring his right to box. The king was finally free to return to the sport he loved, greeted by fans and supporters who now saw him as more than just a champion in the ring. Ali's stand had cost him dearly, but it transformed him into a hero for millions around the world. His sacrifice and unwavering principles inspired countless others to stand up for what they believed in. He proved that true greatness isn't measured only by titles or trophies. It's defined by the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the world stands against you. Ali's courage and conviction changed the national conversation about war, race, and conscience in America, leaving a legacy that extended far beyond the boxing ring. His years in exile transformed him from a mere sports champion into a living legend, admired for his principles as much as his prowess. And now, after years of struggle and sacrifice, Muhammad Ali was ready to make his greatest comeback, one that would forever cement his place in history. After 3.5 years away, Ali returned to a changed sport. Joe Frazier was the new champion, and their 1971 clash was the fight of the century. Ali lost, but proved he still belonged at the top. He fought his way back, enduring defeats and setbacks but never giving up. In 1974, he faced George Foreman in Zaire, the Rumble in the Jungle. Ali, the underdog, unveiled the rope-a-dope, letting Foreman tire himself out. In the 8th round, Ali struck, reclaiming the heavyweight crown. His second reign brought another epic, the Thrilla in Manila against Frazier. 14 brutal rounds in the heat. Frazier's corner stopped it before the 15th. Ali had won, but at a tremendous cost. These battles cemented his legend, his mind and heart as powerful as his fists. He was more than a comeback story. He was a symbol of resilience. Ali had reclaimed his place in history. The world had never seen a champion like him. Muhammad Ali was more than a boxer. He was a global icon. His charisma and principles inspired millions across the world. He fought in Africa, Asia, and Europe, becoming a symbol of black pride and independence. Ali used his fame for good, visiting children, hospitals, and speaking for justice. Even after boxing, he became a humanitarian and ambassador for peace. In 1990, he negotiated the release of American hostages in Iraq. He showed athletes could be powerful agents of change. Ali's legacy is in the courage he inspired, the barriers he broke, and the pride he gave to the voiceless. He paved the way for athletes to use their platforms for activism. He was and remains the greatest. Every legend faces a sunset. Ali's final fights were shadows of his former glory. He retired in 1981, and soon after, Parkinson's disease began to silence his booming voice, but his spirit remained unbroken. In 1996, he lit the Olympic cauldron in Atlanta, shaking but unbowed, a moment of global inspiration. He dedicated his later years to charity and peace, earning the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The world mourned when he passed in 2016, but his legacy endures. Ali's story is one of reinvention, courage, and changing the world. He taught us the toughest fights are outside the ring. True greatness is measured by the principles you live by. His legend floats forever, like a butterfly stinging like a bee. For more stories of those who changed the world, stick around. You won't be disappointed.